Good day, everybody. This is Coach Steve, the Happy Prof, and I'm here with our first official full-length episode of the Happy Profcast. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about happiness. What is happiness? I figure we got to decide on what happiness is and talk about that before we can get into anything else. So let's get started. Let's talk about what happiness is. You're going to hear me talk a lot about calling happiness the good life. What is the good life? Well, living the good life is living a life free of suffering, right? We don't want to be suffering. We don't want to be sad. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to be anxious, depressed. What do we want? Well, we want to be flourishing. We want to be thriving. We want to be joyous, living a prosperous life, living a pleasant life. We want to be happy. You'll hear me talk about terms north of neutral, south of neutral during this podcast. What is neutral? Well, neutral is the baseline. Anything south of neutral is what we don't want. Like I was saying in the beginning, being sad, angry, upset, depressed, anxious. North of neutral is what we are striving for. And it could be, there's a spectrum anywhere from being content to joyous to flourishing, thriving, whatever adjective you want to use to describe your level of happiness. Now, I want people to know that not everybody wants to be, let's say, a 10 out of 10. And I don't even recommend being a 10 out of 10 with regards to happiness, because if we're that euphoric, you know what it's like when you're in a brand new relationship and you can't think about anything else except that person. You can't get anything done. We don't want to live a life like that all the time. We won't be productive. So science has shown that somewhere around a 7, 8 is probably where you are at your most productive. You're happy and you can still be productive. But if you're not happy, content, if you don't want to be a 7 and your good life is living around a 2 or a 3, and that's what makes you happy, then by all means, go for that. That's what you should have. When you're comfortable with a 2 or 3 and you feel like you can move a little bit further up, then you go for it. But right now, I want you to be as happy and content as you can be. All right, so happiness. We've got two views of happiness. There's the simple type of happiness. We call this hedonic happiness. This is where you maximize pleasure and minimize pain. This is the type of happiness you get when you watch a TV show that you really enjoy, right? It makes you feel good in the moment, but it doesn't change your life. When you play a game, backgammon or video game or something like this, and you have success with that and you have a good time with it, that's hedonic happiness. And we need that. We need to have both types of happiness, but we can't live on hedonic happiness alone because it's not long lasting. It's fleeting, right? The other type of happiness is called eudaimonic happiness. And eudaimonic happiness is the longer lasting type of happiness. This is where we find purpose in our life. We find meaning in our life. This comes with relationships, long-lasting relationships. Your significant other should be a eudaimonic type happiness. It comes with accomplishing personally meaningful goals. There are lots of things: volunteering, serving others, doing good for others, doing good for yourself. All this is the eudaimonic type happiness. And the studies show that when we pursue eudaimonic type activities, we tend to be happier. And we'll get into all this stuff as the podcasts go on. Don't want to cover too much in the beginning, but just want to give you an idea of what is out there. So you've got your hedonic, simple pleasure type of happiness, and eudaimonic, long-lasting, meaningful, purposeful happiness. Now, we have a makeup of our happiness, percentages where we have our happiness. And again, the science shows that around 50% of our happiness is genetic. We get this from our our parents. And some people start with a high base level, and congratulations, good for you. Some people start with a lower base level. That just means we have a little bit more work to do to maintain and increase our happiness level. So that's 50%. The other 10%, another 10% comes from life circumstances. Life circumstances are things that happen to us. Could just be by chance, could be someone complimenting you on an outfit that you have and making you feel good, right? Someone at work saying, hey, great job, congratulations, boss really liked what you did. That's a life circumstance. Could be your job, right? And there's ups and downs with jobs. Could be you have plans to do something outside and it's a beautiful day. You go out and like, yes, it's going to be a gorgeous day. We're going to have a lot of fun doing our activity outside today. Makes you feel good. But also, you have plans to do something outside and the weather is horrible. It's pouring rain, thundering, lightning. And now you can't do that. So it brings down your happiness a little bit. And we don't always have control of the life circumstances, right? And then the remaining is the 40%. 40% are what we call intentional activities, things that you do on purpose to increase your happiness. It's a mindset thing, right? You can do certain things, and I'll give you some ideas right now, but we'll talk more in depth as the podcasts go along. So an intentional activity can be hedonic or eudaimonic. You could do something like sit down intentionally and watch a TV show that you like, right? If you enjoy playing a musical instrument, you just decide to go, hey, I'm going to go play music. I'm going to play some music, put myself in a good mood. Listening to music has been shown to increase happiness, right? Put yourself together a positive playlist. I do that. It's a fantastic way to get yourself in the right mood. Exercise, going to do exercise, intentionally going to do exercise, right? Doing some gratitude. We'll talk a lot about gratitude letters, gratitude visit, calling someone, thanking them, send them an email, thanking them for something that they've done is important. That increases happiness and well-being. So there are lots of things that you can do, and we will talk about them. And if you've watched any of my Monday Morning Motivator videos, you've seen this year in 2021 that I've given you lots of different tools and tips you can use to increase your happiness. So you can check that out on YouTube. Look for Steve Yolenbrock or Feel Great Coaching or the Happy Prof, and you can find these videos on YouTube. So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about pleasure, right? Talking about this positive vibe, this positive energy. And pleasure is something that can be increased by learning something more about an activity. So if you enjoy, let's say, an activity, whether it's maybe it's a certain artist, you like their music. If you want to get more pleasure out of that, from that artist, from listening to their music, read about them, learn more about them. You will get more enjoyment out of the music when you know what they had to deal with to become who they are, right? If you're going to a play or a musical or an event of some sort, and you don't know a lot about it, if you read up on it ahead of time and you find the background, a little bit of the history, what the show is about or whatever the event is about, when you go there, you will get more pleasure out of it. Now, pleasure can come in different levels, can be very calm and serene, something like watching a sunset, right? That brings us joy, that brings us pleasure. And that's a very quiet moment, and sometimes you're in awe and all that type of stuff. But pleasure can be very far on the other end of the spectrum. You can ecstasy. You can have when you're watching a concert. If you're in a concert and you're just totally into the music and all that kind of stuff. It could be a high level. Lots of different things can bring us joy and pleasure and type of things. It's not just where pleasure is a little blip in our happiness. It can be quite a big spike depending on the event, the activity, whatever's going on. So we would need to bring more pleasure into our life. And what can you do? Well, again, try to find the things that you like. Try to make a list. I ask my students to make a positivity portfolio. There you go. There's a challenge for you for the week. Make a positivity portfolio. Make a list of things that you enjoy. One page, and I usually have them do this on a PowerPoint type presentation. So one page could be songs that you really like, and just list as many songs as possible. And if you want to put links to the YouTube videos so you can just click on them and make it, that's fantastic. Another thing could be TV shows that you really enjoy. Another thing could be things that put you into flow, which is being in the zone. We'll talk about that eventually. Could be sports, could be music, could be reading, could be creativity, art, that type of stuff. Make a list of friends that you enjoy hanging out with. Put together a bunch of pictures or videos that bring you joy. Memories are a great way to increase our happiness and pleasure. So you could do something like that. So a positivity portfolio, and you can just add on and on and on. And this is now a resource for you for happiness. If you're feeling a little bit down and you're like, I need a spike in happiness. Well, let me go to my positivity portfolio and see what I've got there. Maybe I could find something that I like. And then you go to your positivity portfolio, check out something. Today, one thing may jump out at you and boom, you go with that. Tomorrow or another day, it could be something different. But you have this resource of positivity for you that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that brings you pleasure. So try something out like that. Now, I do want you to know that when we're talking about this simple joys and simple pleasures, there is something called the hedonic treadmill out there. And this hedonic treadmill is adaptation when we adapt to something. You ever get something brand new? Maybe it's a brand new hat or a brand new pair of shoes or a brand new shirt. And you're like, oh my God, I love it. This is fantastic. Well, that is, that brings us joy, that brings us pleasure. And every time you wear it in the beginning, it's like, yeah, this is great. I love this hat. I love this yellow shirt. Yellow, gotta like it, right? Then after a while, it doesn't bring as much joy or happiness, right? It's happened to cars, right? You get a brand new car, you love this car. Oh my God, I'm never going to eat in this car. I'm going to keep this car spotless, right? Then after about a couple of months, you have the car, and all of a sudden you start drinking something in there, and then you might have, I'm just going to eat this little snack. It's nice and neat. I'm not going to make a mess. And then the next thing you know, you're eating full-fledged meals in there and all kinds of stuff. And that joy, that happiness that you got from just seeing the car has kind of dwindled. And so we adapt to these things. Now, like I said before, it's actually a good thing because we don't want to be a 9 or a 10. If we just constantly got joy from every little thing and never lost that level of positivity, then we're going to have too much going on in our brain. We're not going to be able to think properly, think clearly. So this adaptation is actually a good thing. It's not a good thing for the wallet because you keep having to replace the items. You got this awesome baseball hat that you like to wear. And after a couple of months, it's like, hat's not so, doesn't do it for me anymore. So you have to buy another one. And then you have to buy another one. And you have to buy another one, right? But it's good for us mentally and emotionally. All right. So that ends episode 1 of the Happy Podcast, the Happy Profcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like it. Share it with your friends. Check back for future episodes. Remember, my mantra this year is be grateful, be kind, be happy. This is Coach Steve, the Happy Prof, telling you to go out there and make it a happy day.